Hello and welcome to the Virtual Public Information Center for the Ridley Road Reconstruction Project for the City of St. Catharines. The following presentation provides an overview of the Class EA process followed to determine the preferred road cross-section that will be implemented as part of this project. First, we're going to begin with a project overview. CEMA Plus has been retained by the City to provide consulting engineering services related to the reconstruction of Ridley Road. The study area for this project is Ridley Road from just before Lowe Street in the west to Henrietta Street in the east, which is a distance of approximately 630 meters. Ridley Road is being reconstructed in anticipation of redevelopment of the St. Paul Street GO Station, which is further south of Ridley Road, as well as future potential residential development. You note on the graphic on the screen that there's a proposed roundabout location, and this will be a tie-in point from the GO Station access road to Ridley Road. For the purpose of completing this analysis, Ridley was split into differing segments that allow for a customized approach when it's evaluating alternative cross-sections. For this presentation, we're going to talk about existing conditions on Ridley Road, how the alternative cross-sections for each segment were developed, the analysis of the alternative cross-sections again per segment, and finally the alternatives selected for each segment. First, we're going to describe Ridley Road as it currently exists. Ridley Road is currently an urban two-lane roadway with a sidewalk on the south side of the street, which is the side opposite Ridley College. The existing cross-section varies depending on location, but can broadly be described as either being fully urban, which means the roadway is paved and has concrete curb and gutter to aid in road drainage, or semi-urban, which means the road is paved but has no curb and gutter present. The section from Dexter Street to Lowe Street is considered semi-urban, and then from Dexter to Henrietta Street is considered fully urban. A traffic analysis was completed on peak hour volumes, which indicated that one travel lane is sufficient in each direction to accommodate future traffic volumes. Next, we're going to discuss which information was used to develop the alternative cross-sections that were evaluated for each segment. Several sources of information were used to develop the alternative cross-sections, including the city's transportation master plan, GO Site secondary access plan, previous studies, and physical restrictions such as locations of existing hydro poles. In addition to the reports and studies, there was field information that was gathered, which we will talk about next. There were 4 main studies completed to augment the information provided in the studies and the reports. The topographic survey indicated that the right-of-way, which is the total area owned by the city and includes both the traveled portion of the road that cars travel on as well as the boulevard areas, actually varies in width between 18 and 19 meters. Ridley College has agreed to cede an additional 1 meter buffer of land from Lowe Street easterly to the main Ridley College entrance to provide additional lateral space for the city to use. A subsurface utility engineering study was also completed to gather information on existing utilities such as gas, hydro, Cogeco, Bell, to augment the information collected as part of the topographical survey. Topographical information can best be described as existing elevations of features within the road corridor. So if you went out to the site, these are the elevations of all the things you see in the field. A stage 1 archaeological assessment was also completed, which indicated there was a low potential to find anything of anthropological archaeological significance. Stage 1 assessments are routinely done as part of road reconstruction assignments. In this case, since Ridley Road had already been constructed, it's an existing road after all, the archaeologists concluded that there was little chance of finding anything of significance because the roadway corridor had already been excavated and disturbed at least once. A tree inventory assessment was also completed by a certified arborist. The results of this assessment indicate the trees on the north side of the right-of-way, which is the Ridley College side, are in good condition and should be saved if possible. The trees on the south side have been heavily pruned, however, by the hydro utility and consequently are not in the greatest shape. Therefore, these could be removed if there is justification to do so. As noted earlier, Ridley Road was split into segments for this analysis, with up to 5 different alternative cross-sections developed for each segment. Each of these cross-sections differ by having a combination of sidewalks, bike lanes, and boulevards spacing, or lack thereof, of varying widths and configurations. For example, the bike lanes could be completely separate from the travel lanes. They could be part of a shared vehicle lane that's wider than a standard lane, or even not present at all. Sidewalks could be 1.5 meters wide and located within the boulevard, 1.8 meters wide located adjacent to the proposed curb, or replaced by a 3 meter wide multi-use path. Once the cross-sections had been developed, the next step was to evaluate the alternatives per segment. Again, up to 5 alternative cross-sections were developed for each segment, and again there are 4 segments. Each of these alternatives was then drawn on top of the existing base plans, and the plans reviewed to determine the impacts, both positive and negative, implementing the proposed cross-section would have on the existing corridor. These impacts were then used to complete an EA-style evaluation of each alternative cross-section to determine a preferred alternative per segment. This is an example of the alternative cross-sections being plotted on a base plan. The base plan is the dark gray black lines, which display Ridley Road as it currently exists and would have been generated based on the topographical survey and the SUV work completed earlier. The dark blue lines provide the outline of the alternative cross-section, which includes a sidewalk within the South Boulevard, 2 3.25 meter wide travel lanes, and a north sidewalk adjacent to the roadway. In this particular alternative, there are no bike lanes present. Examination of this alternative against the base plan displays that 2 of the existing south side trees on either side of Ambrose Street would need to be removed to facilitate construction of the south sidewalk. This is an example of the positive and negative impacts noted in the previous slide. The evaluation of alternatives was completed by determining various criteria, also known as factors, to compare the alternatives and then complete the analysis. The alternatives were ranked on each criteria as having the most benefit, least benefit, or somewhere in the middle. This is known as a qualitative analysis since the alternatives are ranked against each other as opposed to using a formula or some equation to calculate a number and then use that number to determine the rankings. Note that each alternative could be scored the same, so it would be possible, for instance, to get 2 alternatives within the same segment that have the highest benefit, or 2 alternatives that have the least benefit. This is an example of a filled-in evaluation table. The criteria or factors used to evaluate the alternatives are noted on the left-hand side of the table. Once the evaluation was completed for each segment, a score was tabulated based on each individual factor, with the greatest benefit being allocated 4 points and the least benefit being allocated 0 points, and the remainders in between allocated points depending on where they fall. For each alternative per segment, the scores were then summed to determine a preferred alternative per segment. Finally, we're going to discuss which preferred alternatives were chosen per segment. For segments 1 to 3, which is from Henrietta to west of Ambrose Street, alternative 1 was determined to be the preferred alternative. This alternative is preferred since it matches the existing neighborhood aesthetic of the residential area to the south, i.e. it looks like it fits in with the character of the neighborhood. It preserves the mature trees along the north side of Ridley Road and has a narrow lane width to dissuade cut-through traffic from accessing St. Paul Street West by traversing through the existing residential area. For segment 4, which is from the proposed roundabout to Louth Street, alternative 3 was determined to be preferred. This alternative is preferred because it has physically separate bike lanes for bicyclists and vehicular traffic to improve safety. It includes for a wider vehicle lane to accommodate go-bus traffic, and it has sidewalks on both sides of the street. Thank you for watching this presentation and attending the virtual Public Information Center. Should you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment box, which can be accessed on the Thank You tab on the web portal.